Today I want to talk a little bit about functions, and specifically I want to talk about passing by value and passing by reference. So pass by value and pass by reference. And I'm going to denote passing by value using a B, passing by reference using an R. So in this first particular example, you can see that we have a function called switchIt. We have another function called main, where all C++ programs begin. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start this program at main, and we're going to see that variables are allocated for I and j. And so I'm going to put the main variables up here at the top. So I is equal to 1, and j has a value of 2. We're going to output the values of I and j, so we'll show what the output looks like. And we're going to output I, which is 1, and then j, which is 2, followed by another space. And then we're going to call switchIt. We're going to pass I to x. How are we going to do it? We're going to pass that by value. We're going to pass j to y. We're going to pass that also by value. And the question is what does that mean? Well, when we pass by value, copies of the arguments, so these are arguments for switchIt, and these are parameters up here. So the arguments are passed to the parameters and copies are made. So I is passed to x by value. So, and I'm going to denote the variables in switchIt underneath. So we have x, we have y, and j is passed to y, so 2 is passed, and we also have a local variable temp. And space is allocated for temp, and it's assigned the value of x. X has a value of 1, so we put 1 here. X gets y, so x becomes 2, and y gets temp, so y becomes 1. And you can see that the values have switched in switchIt, but when we leave switchIt, what happens is this information in the circle goes away, and when we come back, we see that I and j haven't changed at all. And when we output I and j, we output 1 and 2. And so this is pass by value. Next, we're going to take a look at pass by reference. So you can see we're going to have main again, and space then is allocated for I, space is allocated for j, and I has a value of 1 and j has a value of 2, and we're going to output I and j, so it's 1 space 2 space, and now we're going to make a call to switchIt, and we're passing I to x by reference. So this is by reference and this is by reference. And so what does this mean, passing by reference? This means if I is passed to x by reference, that I and x are going to reference the same location, and j is passed to y by reference, so j and y are going to reference the same location. And now we still have this local variable temp. And so what happens is space is allocated for temp in the function switchIt. Temp is assigned the value of x, which is 1, and then x gets y. So this x down here is equal to y. And so x has a value of 2. And notice when we change x, it's also changing I because x and I reference the same location. And then y gets temp. So y has a value of temp, which is 1. So this goes away, and so now we've actually switched these values, and when we leave the function switchIt, this goes away, this goes away, this goes away, and we output I and j, and in this case what happens is 2 is outputted and 1's outputted, and there is our pass by reference. Now we're going to have a combination of pass by value and pass by reference, so everything starts out the same. We're going to have I, which is a value of 1. We're going to have j, which is a value of 2. We're going to output I and j, so it's 1 space 2 space, and now we make a call to switchIt. And I is passed to x, and this is passed by value. J is passed to y, and this is passed by reference. So what does that mean? That means a local copy of x is actually created. And again, I'm going to put x down here, and I, 1, is passed into x. So this has a value of 1. And j is passed by reference, to y, and so j and y are going to reference the same location. And then we have this local variable temp, and so temp exists in switch it. Temp gets x, which is 1. X gets y, so this x gets this y, so x has a value of 2, and then y gets temp. So this y right here gets temp, and this is a value of 1. And when we leave, everything in the circle is going to go away. We output I and j. Well, here's our I and here's our j. And so we go ahead and output, and we get 1 space 1 space. And so that's a combination of passing by value and passing by reference. Finally, we're going to get a little tougher. Now we've got I, j, k, and the variable names. Again, the variable names are not important. What's important is the position. So we're passing this argument to this parameter, this argument to this parameter, this argument to this parameter. Same thing down here. K is passed to I, j passed to j, I passed to k. So how's this going to work? So we've got space allocated for I, space allocated, j, space allocated for k. And this has a value of 1, value of 2, value of 3. And now we're going to call change them. And we pass I to I, and we pass that by value. And so space is allocated for I, and we're passing the value of I, which is 1, and so this has a value of 1. And then we're passing j to j, but we're passing that by reference. So this was passed by value, this is passed by reference, this is passed by reference. J is passed to j by reference, so j and j reference the same location. K is passed to k by reference, so k and k reference the same location. And now we increment I, so this right here is our I. So we increment I by 1. So I has a value of 2. J plus equals 2. So take what's in j, this j right here, add 2 to it and put it back into j. So this now has a value of 4, and minus minus k. So take a look at k down here, minus minus k. So we subtract 1 from k, and this has a value of 2. And so our output is I has a value of 1, j has a value of 4, and k has a value of 2. And remember, when we leave change them, everything in the circle, this goes away, this goes away, and this goes away. So the first time we do this, we end up with an output of 142. Well, the question is what happens the next time we do this? It's the same thing that we've been doing in this entire presentation. So k is passed to I by value. So now the second time, so this was the first time, the second time we have our I, and this time k is passed to I. So this k, which is 2, is passed to I, so I has a value of 2. J is passed to j again by reference, so this next time j and j reference the same location, and I is passed to k by reference, so I and k reference the same location. So the second time, this is our second time, this is our second time, and this is our second time. And now we do the same thing, plus plus I, we'll find I. Here's I, plus plus, so this thing now is 3, j plus equals 2. Take what's in j, add 2 to it, and put it back in j. We change this j. These are actually two different j's, but they reference the same location. And finally, minus minus k. So we take k, almost made that mistake there. This circle said it was the first time. It's this particular k right here, and we minus minus this k, so 1 becomes 0. And then when we leave, this goes away, so this was the second time. This goes away, this is the second time. This goes away, this is the second time. So this was the first time, this was the first time, second time, second time. All of those go away, and what we're left with is I, which is 0, and j, which is 6, and finally k, which is 2. 062. This is pass by value, pass by reference with functions. You've got to have this down. There's no way to be an excellent software engineer without understanding functions and pass by value, pass by reference.